game that the Alliance promised it could deliver easily under the new system. The Cornhuskers have been there. They try to go for back-to-back championships. This would be a new hurdle for the Florida program, winning a big bowl game with a lot on the line under Spurrier.
Well, Chris, one of the key things, this is the playing surface. It's on grass, and I think it's tremendous advantage for Florida on grass. Nebraska cannot rush the passer as quick. Their linebackers and secondary people cannot react as quick. They don't like the option on the grass. Advantage playing surface, Florida over Nebraska.
I would agree. The odds would favor Nebraska more if it were played on carpet.
Absolutely.
You watch how fast they get to Danny Weurfful, even on grass. You watch how fast Wisterman and Tomich hit him. They'll hit him hard.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, Spurrier, you give him a month, he'll dissect any defense, no matter how fast they rush the guy.
I agree. He's brilliant, but Nebraska's staff, underrated. You give them a month, and they haven't been out coaching too many big games either.
No, but they've lost some big ball games to passing teams. Remember that.
Point, counterpoint. This will continue in Tempe.
Number
1, Nebraska. Number 2, Florida. You've got a Nebraska team chasing history, trying to become the first team in 29 years to win back-to-back consensus national championships. And a team in Florida that has never won a national title, but has won 3 consecutive SEC titles, something no team has done since the Coach Bryant era. So on paper, a tremendous matchup.
Also, the contrast in styles. You know, they say great heavyweight fights, contrast in style. You got the knockout guy, Joe Frazier. That's Nebraska. Then you got the guy, bing, 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 Muhammad Ali. That's Florida. And remember, Muhammad Ali beat Frazier last 2 out of 3 times.
I have not seen Florida go beat to anybody this year. Florida's a great football team, so is Nebraska. But in order for these two teams to get here to Tempe, they had to have great mindset. Nebraska had to overcome all of the off-the-field distractions. They did that. They refocused and rebuilt an offensive line. As for Florida, they had to deal with the SEC regular season. Not only that, they had to go out and win the SEC championship game to get here. Mentally
Spurrier
tough.
was saying after practice today that Phil Fulmer now rumored to go to the NFL. He was just kidding. He likes to plant those rumors. There have been so many about him. But he also said he doesn't mind those rumors about going in the NFL because he thinks it reflects well on his offense, that NFL teams are interested in employing it. And if you've seen Buddy Ryan's offense across the street here, you want anybody's offense. Spurrier's at the top of the list. But there's another reason he doesn't say emphatically, I will never be interested in coaching in the NFL. He's a businessman, Lee.
Well, also, you got to remember one thing. Steve is under contract at Florida to 2002. Now, before January 1st this year, he's going to meet with the Florida officials, and they're going to renew or look at his contract. He makes approximately $700,000 a year, which is not bad. But remember, across the state, Bobby Bowden makes $975,000 a year. I wouldn't be surprised if Spurrier got closer to Bowden because he's got one word going for him, my friend, leverage. And the more rumors, the more money he gets.
You don't think Bowden's contract would be a factor at all in Spurrier's mind when it comes to the...
No, not especially since he beat him.
I'd be shocked if he didn't get that. Jeremy Foley, the AD, kind of winks and says he knows he's going to have to pay Steve Moore. What about as we shift the focus to the game on the field, some hidden factors that aren't really being talked about a lot yet?
Well, Chris, one of the things I think is very important in this ball game is the playing surface. The game is going to be played on grass, and I think grass slows the game down, and all of these things are advantages for the University of Florida. Number 1, it slows the pass rush down. You can't get that good toe hold. Number 2, the reaction of the linebackers in the defensive secondary slow down. The ball doesn't slow down, but they do. And number 3, and most important, when Nebraska runs the option, it's harder to get to that corner and around that corner on grass. I think grass will be a very, very important situation in this ball game, and I think it's a determining factor in who wins the game.
And so you think that really helps Florida overall?
Absolutely.
And I agree with you. Overall, you have to, but you have to also look back to last year. Nebraska goes down to the Orange Bowl on grass. They beat a good Miami football team. So Nebraska has won on grass. Now, I watched the ball game the other night in the NFL between the Cowboys and the Cardinals. A lot of slipping taking place out there, and I thought twice about that, thinking about Nebraska's running game. It's really going to help Florida's offense. You know, you look what Aikman did, over 300 yards passing. No question, Weurfful can do the same.
Let me give you another interesting point, and this is hidden, but it's important. Nebraska's bowl record, they've lost 7 of the last 8 bowl games. And 6 of those teams have been from the University of Florida, or Florida State, excuse me. And one important thing, every single game they lost on grass. Now, that is not a coincidence.
And they all played against better ball clubs, too. The grass didn't do anything about it. They had better teams beating them.
No, sir.
Well, back to this field across the way here. I'd say this gets a lot of use. He had 7 college games, 10 NFL games, 2 high school games, so it's a little bit beat up right now. The Cowboys had the wrong cleats, though. They didn't have long enough cleats for this winter rye grass.
I talked to them.
Yeah, don't get me going on the grass over here, I'll tell you. But they will bring the right cleats. I don't think it'll be a big factor.
Well, college football, you can only have 3/4 inch cleats.
They'll wear better cleats than the Cowboys. They won't be as much slipping.
Can't do it. It's against the rules.
The game will be played, and I know you never break a rule. The game will be played 6 days from now across the street, but the Wizards of the Sega folks have already played this game, and it was a classic when played on the computer. A 1-yard bootleg by Tommy Frazier, who programmed it. Nebraska's not run a bootleg in 50 years. But then Danny Weurfful, the touchdown pass to Ike Hilliard. That makes it 27-26 Nebraska. Florida then went for 2, got the 2-point conversion, and won the little Sega game 28-27. Now, again, perhaps a flaw in the program. You wouldn't go for 2 if it came down to it because there's overtime in bowls now. You kick the point, you tie.
That's right.
But hey, listen, those computer guys are not that bright.
I wonder what kind of cleats they have.
Major factors in many of Nebraska's victories has been their ability to wear people down in the fourth quarter. If you recall the Orange Bowl last year, the Hurricanes, negative 35 yards total offense in the fourth quarter. Nebraska had those 2 touchdown drives and a total of 83 yards rushing in the fourth quarter. Again this year, they've been outstanding. 5 teams have not scored on the Huskers in the fourth quarter. Here's center Aaron Graham talking about that fourth quarter factor.
The big thing that everybody's always been pushing on Florida is just their big overall team speed and stuff. But, you know, if you can't hang with 4 quarters with the guys who are 300 pounds who are going to pound on you, then you're going to get beat. You know, it's just the law of physics. When you outweigh somebody 50 pounds and you hit on them 80 times in a game, something's going to give.
You have to love Aaron Graham. Besides being a great blocking center, 0 bad snaps in 3 years on punts, field goals, and PATs. That's tough to do. But, of course, he's best known for his blocking. What about it? Can the Huskers wear down this Florida team?
I think they got a chance, but I don't think they'll do it as easily as they did against Miami because Florida's got a great offensive line. And one of the most important positions on a whole football team is their left offensive tackle, All-American Jason Odom. The reason why he's so important, he's on the blind side of a right-handed Florida quarterback. If you'll notice right here, they'll come from the outside. If they get it from the blind side, usually causes a fumble. But they also like to run left in a crutch. Look at that guy. Pancakes the guy runs in there. Florida's offensive line has been wonderful this year. They've only had 23 sacks in 457 attempts. They're a great part of that great team at Florida.
And they're going to go going against a defense, though, this year. The reason Nebraska's here is because of their swarming defense. This is a defense that gets to the ball. It used to be that we all talked about Nebraska's offense, but now when you look at this ball club, Big Red, there's no doubt that they have a defense comparable to any in the country. I thought they were one of the best, if not the best defense in the country, and they're done, and they lead by guys on the defensive line that are quick, strong guys. You can tell they've been in the weight room. They live there. They eat metal for dinner. Christian Peter's one of those guys. They have a defense that just mentally wears you down. Offensively, you know you're going to play against a team that, no doubt about it, will come out and will knock your socks off. And I think that's the reason Nebraska's here and the reason they have so much confidence in regardless of what happens in the game, they can perform.
Yeah, they've upgraded the speed. We've talked about that being the big improvement. 32 sacks this year. Attention, Danny Weurfful. He did get hit in the last couple of ball games. Florida has formations where Weurffel's going to get punished. Also, 20 interceptions for that Nebraska defense. Weurffel's talked about it. Spurrier puts him in situations where he's going to get a little bit of punishment. Nebraska's defensive ends are quick enough, I think, to get him.
This is going to shock you. Florida's not going to beat Nebraska with the pass. They're going to beat it with the run, and they're going to beat it with the draw play because when your buddies are coming, whoosh, they're going to slip the ball inside there. You know what? Florida averages 5.2 every time they run the football. That's darn good, boy.
Well, you know, let me tell you about those guys. You know, when you talk about Nebraska's team, though, the offensive line, Aaron Graham, once again, go back to this guy that had 17 pancakes in one ball game alone. He sets the tempo on the offensive line to match that of what Nebraska's defensive line does. This is a unit that did not allow any sacks this year. They rebuilt. They came back. They performed at a level that last year's offensive line did, and I never thought we'd say that.
Overall, who's going to win this battle? Many people do predict a very high-scoring game, but again, both of these defenses underrated, not talked about enough, and both are playing much better as the season goes along. Overall, how do you see the game shaping up?
I see Florida win it. I see them winning because of the playing surface. I think grass slows the ball down. I think that's how they beat them. If the game was played on artificial turf, I'd take Nebraska. They're that close.
Well, I think the playing surface has a factor in this deal, but also Steve Spurrier offensively. I believe that Florida's offensive game plan will have had enough time to get used to that speed and quickness and skill level of Nebraska, and that's why I picked them in this thing. It'll be a good, close ball game, but Nebraska's defense, I don't think, can keep up with Florida's offense.
You guys aren't talked out in the game, right? We got a long week and
I got a lot more
stuff
right here.
You should see the notes, trust me.